Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allows you to record and edit your broadcast so it sounds great. And they even distribute your broadcast for you so that it can be heard everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. So make sure you download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. This is FET News with Daren Frett. Hi, hello everyone. This is your host of Future Educators Talk, Daren Frett here, and here are your FET News for today. So today, I am back. Yours truly, Daren Frett, is back I'm back on the podcast. As many of you know, that I've been gone for about 2 weeks now. My last was back in November, so I am back now. Also, Damian Anderson is out. He will be out for the remainder of December. He will be back in January of 2020, so he'll be back next year. Plus, we have plus on the broadcast, we have our very own guest co-host, Mr. Kwame will be joining Future Educators Talk all month long during the month of December, so you might want to tune in for that. And also, brand new episodes comes out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you tune in, and make sure you follow us on all of our social medias. On Facebook at Future Educators Talk with Damian and Daren, Twitter at Future EDU Talk, on Instagram at Future Educators Talk, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Future Educators Talk with Damian and Daren, and make sure you tap that bell so that you will be notified when brand new episodes comes out. So make sure you tune in for that. Also, Brunch Talk with Daren Frett is coming back with a brand new time starting Thursday, December 12th at 10:30. Yes, that's right. Brunch Talk with Daren Frett. Many of you have been, well, many of you have been asking, but Brunch Talk with Daren Frett is coming back on Instagram Live with a brand new time starting Thursday, December 12th. Also, FET Twitter Live is also coming back as well. That is coming back on Tuesday at 10:30. Plus, Brunch Talk with Daren Frett Twitter Live, that series premiere will be Wednesday, December 11th at 10:30, where your host, yours truly, Daren Frett, will be talking about Monday's episode. So, also, Coffee Talk with Damian Anderson will be having a new date and time coming in 2020. So make sure you tune in for that. Well, that is all I have for you for today for FET News. So make sure you listen to Monday's episode of Future Educators Talk. Good Monday morning. This is your host, Daren Frett here. My feature is Talk. Yes, I'm back. I am back after taking some personal, well, not really personal leave, but I am back. after gone for a while, but that is all right. I'm back. As you can see here, Danny Anderson is not here today. He is taking some time off because he's not feeling he's feeling sick. So I like to wish him hopefully he gets better. So he'll be back in 2020. So today we have our very first. Let me say it again. We have our very first guest co-host of the year. I guess this is one way to end the 2019 season right here. Today we have a very special guest co-host. I don't know if I'm going to, I may pronounce, I do apologize in advance if I'm pronouncing your name wrong.
No problem.
Mr. Kwame Sarfo-Mensah.
Kwame Sarfo-Mensah. You almost had it. That was a great attempt.
Almost had it. Almost had it. He exemplifies what it means to be I can't speak this morning. A revolutionary leader in the education field throughout his 14 years. Wow. 14-year career as a public school educator, author, and entrepreneur. He has been on a personal mission to uplift and empower educators who are committed to reversing the ills of the public education system in America and globally. He is the founder of Identity Talk Consulting LLC, an independent education consulting firm that provides professional development and consulting services to educators globally who decides to enhance their instructional practices and reach their utmost potential in the classroom. He is also the author of the book Shaping the Teacher Identity: 8 Lessons That Will Help Define the Teacher in You, which was his response to many challenges and frustrations that come with being an educator within the public school system. So he's an author, he's an entrepreneur, a founder, hello now. He is a proud graduate of Temple University. He holds a bachelor's degree in mathematics and a master's degree in elementary education. Also, he was honored as the 2019 Black Educators Rock Member of the Year by Black Educators Rock Incorporated, and the 2019 Massachusetts Celebrity Education of the Year for his unwavering commitment to the advancement of the teaching profession. So, he has, wow. Wow. He's an entrepreneur, an author, a founder, an education of the year, and he was honored. You have done it all in your 14, and you taught for 14 years. So you know what's up.
Nah, I know what's up. Lots of stories to tell, for sure.
So please welcome to the broadcast. Now, remind you, he'll be joining us during the month of December. So you will hear from him every episode, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Again, I do apologize in advance for mispronouncing your name. So I'm going to say it one more time. Hopefully I'm going to get it right the second time. Mr. Kwame. Sarfo. Oh, Kwame?
Mensah. Yes, Kwame.
Mensah.
Yes.
Kwame Mensah. Or Mr. Mensah.
Kwame Sarfo-Mensah.
Sarfo-Mensah.
I know it's a hard one. Yep, you got it.
So, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on the Future Educators Talk podcast. You all doing some great things in the education field, so I appreciate you having me join today.
All right. So today's topic is I don't know if you heard about it over the weekend or so, but there was let me see if I can find it on Twitter real quick. Where a student in Michigan killed himself if I'm not mistaken. Yes,
I believe it was Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincinnati. I do apologize about that. An 8-year-old boy killed himself after his school covered up the bullying. The bullying he faced, a lawsuit says. Now, this happened This happened back in 2017, but they just filed a lawsuit. And when I was reading this story, this article by BuzzFeed News, the school didn't do anything.
No, they didn't
do anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, before I was watched the whole 10-minute video of surveillance of the entire incident, and I also read the BuzzFeed article, but I also read multiple articles about this incident, and it just left me with a lot of questions. I think, for one, the fact that the child was just laying unconscious for a good about 5-6 minutes before an adult came to check him out. Now I wonder what's up with the school supervision. So what's that like at that school? Because I didn't see any adults in sight. And then on top of that, as the child is laying on the ground, you have multiple students who are going in and out of the bathroom, kicking him, walking over him, nudging him. I mean, it was just very difficult to watch. And then if I read correctly, when he was taken to the nurse came to the conclusion that he had fainted. So I'm wondering, how do you come to the medical conclusion that the child fainted? What evidence do you have to say that the child fainted? So there are just a lot of red flags here. A lot of red flags with this. And it makes you wonder, I mean, just based on the optics and from what I've read, it's very clear that the school didn't want to have a controversy on their hands. I think they want to do everything possible to not get this out to the public, because I don't see how a nurse who is a trained medical professional could just come to the definitive conclusion that a child just fainted after going through such a traumatic experience. I don't see how you can come without actually being there to see what happened. So I'll be interested to know what that conversation was like. But I mean, the fact that the school says that it's not liable for the death of this young man is beyond me. From what his mother described, he was a happy-go-lucky kid, didn't have any problems, loved school, and then all of a sudden, 2 days after this incident, matter of fact, I believe the mom picked him up from school, and I want to say he stayed home one day and then came back the next day, only to be bullied again. And on that same day, he got bullied again. He ends up committing suicide. Mm-hmm. All connected to those incidents. So just based off of that, I just don't see how.
That was delicious.
I just don't see how the school can say that it's not liable for that. So I don't know, but there are just a lot of questions that I still have. But what were your thoughts about it?
You know, like you said, there was a whole lot of questions too when I read this article too. And, you know, the fact that they didn't know, that the parents didn't know 2 days before until they didn't know until 2 days before. And also the school didn't call 911, and they waited more than a half hour to call the parents. So,
right.
And I'm just like, shouldn't the school, you know, if something happens to the child, shouldn't they immediately call the parents like right away instead of waiting more than an hour? And like you said, the school nurse came to a medical conclusion, had fainted, and also that his vitals were fine. Okay. Vitals were fine. That should have raised like a red flag there. That he fainted and that his vitals were fine.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
It's just that. And, you know, sometimes you have to wonder, like, why? You know, the main question is why they didn't call the parents, why they didn't, you know, do an investigation, like, why, until the parents had to file a lawsuit about it.
Right. And I think that in itself is a sad part. And I think when you look at it just from a human standpoint, parents bring their children to school with the idea that it's a safe haven for them. Mm-hmm. They put their trust in us as educators to ensure that their kids are going to be safe for 7-8 hours a day, that they're going to get a quality education and all the things that they need to be successful. So when you see these things happen in this situation, I think as a parent, it just makes you wonder, well, gee, how can I trust the school to ensure the safety of my child if they're not even willing to be transparent with me about what went down with my child in terms of this incident? How can I put my trust in the school? And that's the part that we gotta focus on, because this is one of many incidents just in I mean, this is not the first incident. There have been many incidents where we've seen schools try to cover, incidents of violence, that had taken place just so that they wouldn't get a bad name. So, I mean, this is just another part of that narrative that is still being perpetuated out there. So we got to get to the bottom of it. We got to do it.
I'm also reading this article as well. He also reported that bullying as well. He reported that to the teacher, but the teacher was not aware of the assault and didn't recognize the seriousness of the incident. And we did an episode, I do believe back in season 1, where I talked about bullying and the types of ways that teachers need to see bullying. That teacher should be fired, because if that teacher did not, if that teacher went down to the restroom and talked to the bullies, none of this would have happened. But the fact that she didn't recognize it's not a problem, it's not really serious, this is what happened. I feel like educators need to be, when a student comes up to you and if they bully, it needs to be serious. It's a serious problem that needs to be taken care of. I mean, don't just say, it's not that serious, you go over it. No, it's serious. It needs to be addressed right here, right now. And because there are many students out there, again, this is a prime example, suicide,
Absolutely. And I think just in general, in this day and age, with all the technology that we have and just everything else, it's, as a teacher who has seen a lot of bullying incidents, whether it's on school grounds or outside of school, sometimes it's very difficult to kind of see when these things occur, because for one, bullying is not, there isn't just one form of bullying. Bullying is many ways, as I'm sure you already know. You have the bullying where, when I was growing up, as a kid in the late 80s, early 90s, we didn't have social media. So if you got bullied, you either got bullied on the school grounds, where you had, kids push you around, throwing you to the ground, pulling down your pants to embarrass you in front of the rest of the school, like stuff that you could actually see. And it was easy to identify. Now, bullying that's happening over social media, whether it's Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram. I mean, and the kids are so smart these days. They're able to have private groups where people can't even see these things taking place unless they're in that group. So it's become a lot more difficult to detect bullying because of the nature of social media and technology, but also the fact that when a child experiences trauma, and let's say this is a child that's experienced trauma consistently throughout his or her life, they're not always going to come forward to the teacher or an adult and say, hey, I'm being bullied, because guess what? If they make that known to the adult and the bully catches word of that, that's going to just lead to more bullying and perpetuate the cycle. So, I mean, trauma is something that is it's a very serious issue in our schools, and we have to continue to do more address it, whether it's through social emotional learning or just the use of restorative circles to give students an outlet to express those feelings that they may not be able to share with their parents or other trusted adults. So I think we got to do more to address that issue, because as you can see, we keep seeing young people dying in front of our eyes, and they don't even get a chance to live a full life. That's the tragic part about all this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something needs to be done. Something needs to be done here. I also want to talk about that nurse too. I feel like, because when I read this article, I had a strong opinion about the nurse, how she didn't really, how that Gabriel had fainted and was alert, and that his vitals were fine. Here's my deal about it. I feel like she hasn't done enough of that. Mm-hmm. I feel like she hasn't done that. And when Gabriel's mom asked if her son needs to go to the hospital, the nurse told her that he didn't need further medical treatment. Okay. That.
Yes.
Question mark. He didn't need further medical treatment. I feel like school nurses needs to be done more than just, here's the ice bag, hoping you'll be fine. I feel like they need mm-hmm. to do more, because again, you are certified.
That's right.
You are certified in your area. You have degrees. You have a bachelor's or a master's degree in nursing. So mm-hmm. by you just slapping an ice just giving a student ice and just tell them, oh, you'll be all right, that's nothing. That's really nothing.
Right.
And on top of that, you only hear 3 out of 5 days. So, and then one of those days, if you're not there and the students get sick and wants to go to the nurse's office, you're not there. So I feel like school districts needs to hire more nurses at every school, so that, just mm-hmm. in case a student gets sick, or a student may faint, or stuff like that. Because if you're just gonna have few nurses at different schools for only 3 times a day, that's not really gonna work, because you never know what's gonna happen. You never know what's gonna happen. So,
well, sure. But I think the issue with the shortage of nurses within school districts throughout the nation, that's an issue in itself. That's a systemic issue, and that's something that for years has been an issue. But that's probably another story for another day. But as you were talking, I just thought about the fact that the video was, a 10-minute video? And I'm just putting my teacher hat on for a second. I'm wondering if the child was given permission to go to the bathroom by a teacher. Like, was this happening during an instructional period? Because usually Now I know what my policy is for bathrooms. Usually I let students go to the bathroom if I'm not in the middle of teaching. If we're like in the period where we're just doing independent work and I'm not doing any active teaching, that's usually a time when I allow students to use the bathroom. And I usually tell them, listen, it shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes. Now, if you're doing a number 1, it should take you a lot less time. If you're doing number 2, I'll probably add 2-3 minutes to that, and then you can come on. Now, if it takes more than 5 minutes for a child to get back to their classroom,
Something's up.
And I know that the bathroom, and let's assume that the bathroom was, close to the classroom. Let's just assume, because we don't really know based on the footage. As a teacher, I'm gonna start questioning mentally, why is this child taking so long in the bathroom? Is he playing around with other students in the bathroom? Because if it's like elementary or middle school, naturally you're gonna see people in the hallway. You're gonna talk to them. You're gonna detour to different places before going to the bathroom. So is that happening, or is it a case where a child is very sick, and whether it's maybe vomiting or diarrhea, whatever the case may be, but something medically is keeping them in that bathroom longer than he should be in there, right? As a teacher, these are things that I would question. Now, obviously, if I don't have a paraprofessional in the room with me and it's just me in there, I'm gonna call the principal or some administrator immediately just to say, hey, this child's been out of the classroom for 5-10 minutes. I'm not sure where they are, but I just want to notify you so that someone can locate him or her, right? So that will be the process that I would take, and I'm pretty sure many other educators would take in that situation. But once again, it's hard to say what happened because all we know is what we saw in those 10 minutes. We don't know what preceded the incident, and we know very little about what happened after the incident. Perfect example. Yeah, we know that he went to the nurse, but we don't really know the conversation that the student had with the nurse, if he was able to talk at that moment. Because if a child, now who knows? From what I understand, he got slammed to the wall, like pushed to the wall pretty hard. And the fact that he was knocked out for a good 5-6 minutes unconscious, I'm not a doctor, but that's a sign of a concussion, right? That's a symptom for concussion. Usually when a lot of trauma, we have a lot of force trauma to your head, and you make contact to a hard surface like a wall, and you're knocked unconscious, the first thing you should be thinking is concussion. So maybe he woke up, he didn't remember a thing that happened. So this is all speculation, but these are things that we have to factor in, because if someone pushes me and I go to the nurse, I'm either going to tell the truth, or who knows? And this is where trauma comes in. I might just lie about it, because if I tell the nurse that I was pushed, right? And the nurse starts to address it and lets the teacher know or an administrator know, and then all of a sudden it eventually gets to the very bullies and people who are involved in the incident. If I'm someone that's getting bullied all the time, that's more trouble for me. Even though I'm being transparent and honest about what went down, that could potentially lead to more bullying, because now I'm snitching on the very bullies who bullied me. So it's amazing how. So I think there are a lot of different ways we can look at this situation, but unfortunately, with the limited information that we have, we're only left to speculate what went down. But I think it just speaks to how trauma can manifest itself in different ways. You know, because every child is different. Mm-hmm. Some children are more vocal in their trauma. There's children who are more quiet with their trauma, and they won't let you know anything. They'll just pretend that everything's okay. They'll keep things from you, even if you're the most trusting teacher in the world. Right? They're not gonna let you know what happened for whatever reason. But I mean, this is why mental health is such a huge issue in our country. This is why there's more talk about restorative justice in schools and a push for more social emotional learning in our schools. It's for situations. It's because of situations like this. This very reason.
Yeah.
So we gotta do more.
My good friend and co-host Jamie Anderson talked about restoring justice in schools a couple on the last episode of the Thanksgiving edition, and also we talked about mental health for students, and also part 1 and part 2, but also not only for students, but also we did it for teachers as well. So it is a big conversation that needs to be talked about, not only in the education field, but also worldwide as well.
Absolutely. And speaking on restorative justice, so I last taught in Boston Public Schools, right? Mm-hmm. And there are 125 schools within that school district. My school was one of 19 schools that received a grant from Suffolk University to pilot a restorative justice program. So all last year, we did restorative justice, pretty much all the teachers. And as part of the grant, we had to go through a series of trainings on just what restorative justice is, how to do the circle protocol. So I'm not sure you're pretty familiar with restorative justice?
Somewhat.
So with restorative justice, there's different parts of it. But restorative justice ultimately it's a mindset, it's a philosophy. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people just look at restorative justice and they just relegate it to just all the students being in a circle, passing around a talking stick, and sharing their feelings and thoughts about life. It's so much more than that. It's the way that we approach everything. It's the way that we approach academics. It's the way that we interact with one another. Mm-hmm. And most importantly, it can serve as the foundation for the type of culture and climate that you want to set in your classroom. But in order for that to happen, the teacher has to be invested in the philosophy. And this is something that was an issue at my school. So you had some teachers who were very much invested in restorative justice. They did circles every week. They talked to students they gave students the outlet to share different, issues and perspectives and opinions and just be themselves, because that's probably the only time where they can be themselves. Mm-hmm. For some students, when they go home, they're adults in their home. They're taking care of their siblings.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, they're taking care of their mother. In other situations, the mother or father aren't even around to take care of the kids. So therefore, the oldest sibling has to take care of them. And so you don't know what these kids go through outside of the school building. Mm-hmm. We don't know. Mm-hmm. And when you have something like justice in your school, it gives students that outlet to freely express those innermost feelings that they may not have been able to divulge to somebody else. So I think it's something that we really have to do more of, because this could revolutionize the way that we do education, not just in America, but just globally. If we just give students the outlet to really just manifest those emotions, because part of what causes trauma is the suppression of those negative emotions. Mm-hmm. When you suppress emotions over a long period of time, it ultimately festers within you, and it escalates to a point where you then lose control of self. And you do something that is regrettable, whether it's posing physical harm on somebody else, making a statement that is just offensive to somebody. You just never know how you're going to lash out when you don't let those emotions come out in a healthy manner. And restorative justice provides that space for students. But I'm not sure if you discussed this in the Thanksgiving episode about this, but a lot of people have a misconception that restorative justice is just a softer form of punishment. Basically, instead of, so you have, teachers who are in the school of thought of, hey, if a child does something wrong, he needs to get a punishment. So they believe that restorative justice is a way for a child to get over authority. Mm-hmm. That's the misconception some teachers have about it. And as a result, they don't fully invest themselves in the philosophy, because they believe that restorative justice doesn't hold students accountable for their negative behaviors. And that's totally far from the truth. I mean, ultimately, if you respect your students, you're going to do restorative justice in your classroom. And restorative justice is not a circle. It's not just relegated to a circle. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of setting your climate up. It's a school of thought. Mm-hmm. And in order for you to really do it, you have to have the mindset. And if you have the mindset, your children will have the mindset, because then they'll be the ones who will contribute to building this positive culture within your classroom. So yeah, we got to push that more in school districts throughout the country, particularly in urban settings.
And this I don't know. This is probably the reason why we created this podcast, because no educator wants to talk about it. And also we want to see change as well, because we used to be students, and we want to be teachers. So we have seen everything from mm-hmm. the student point of view. And now that we want to become a teacher, now it's going to be like a switch almost.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely. But I will say this, and this is something I talk about this in my book, Shape the Teacher Identity. So, I mean, just full disclosure, I am a former special education student. I was a special education student from grades 1 through 4. For the first 4 years of my schooling, I was in a self-contained special education classroom with students who had more severe challenges. In some cases, you had students who were autistic. You had students who had Asperger's. So, I mean, you had pretty much students with varied learning challenges. And so I was mainstreamed in, different classes. So like I'll be mainstreamed in math and social studies. But then the rest of the time I was in that self-contained setting. And as a result, I was ridiculed. I was teased by many people. And then also, because my name is 100% West African, I had a lot of my peers just teasing me for the simple fact that my name was African. Like I have no English names. Around that time, around that time, Lion King was the #1 movie. So anything associated with Africa, they would just tie to Lion King and then make jokes about it in school. So I dealt with my share of trauma from that standpoint. But here's what allowed me to overcome that. I had a teacher, her name was Mrs. Martin, and I talk about her in the book. There's a whole chapter about her. She was the one who, she let her class be a sanctuary for me when I was being bullied. She allowed me to be who I was and not compromise myself, with anybody. And because of teachers like her, I was able to build confidence in myself and ultimately become who I am today. Now I'm in a position to help those who have dealt with similar traumatic situations as I have, in my schooling. So it's a deeply personal mission for me. Because I've been there. I've been a special education student. I've been a student with an IEP. I've been a student that was an outcast because of my darker skin complexion. I've been a student I've been the boy who couldn't get a girl to like me when everybody else was having girlfriends and stuff. I've been in those situations. I've been that person. So whenever these situations arise with my students, I'm able to provide them with, a healthy perspective on what that is and how they can overcome that, because I've dealt with these situations before. So this is nothing new for me. And I think that's the reason why I'm able to connect with students at that level, because I've lived the life. So I know what that's about. And I think that is ultimately what restorative justice is. It's not just what you do in the circles, what you do throughout the entire school day. Are you keeping track of your students in terms of their emotional and mental welfare? How are you checking in with students? Are you taking the time to recognize when maybe we just need a break from academics because the kids just aren't feeling it? Like, what are we doing within the instructional period to show that we're restoring justice in our students? Because there are many moments where we can do that. We just have to be mindful of what the cues are and take the appropriate action. And I think sometimes as educators, if our eyes aren't fully aware of what's going on, we miss out on those opportunities to impact those students who really need us the most. And that's a fact.
Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm speechless now. I'm speechless now. So, like I said, I will definitely remember that once I get my degree and once I begin teaching. So, thank you.
No problem. And if you don't mind me asking, like, where? So you guys are in college or?
Right now we're both trying to get into college. Hopefully in the spring of next year. That's my plan. I don't know about Damien's plan, but I'm hopeful that I will go to college in the spring of 2020. So go to a community college and then transfer over to a 4-year.
Oh man, that's just awesome, because I mean, just speaking as a black male teacher, to see that there are, high school students, young black men who want to embark on this career. I mean, I don't know if you understand the magnitude of that, because for so many years, man, we've been trying to get this to happen. So to see, you two brothers, man, every day, man, just on this grind, doing this podcast, talking about issues that adults aren't even talking about in this space. That's just more than commendable, man. I have to say that to y'all. That's more than commendable. And y'all got to keep that up, because we need more like-minded individuals like yourselves who are committed to changing the way that we do education in this country and beyond. We got to do that. So yeah, just keep it up, because this is gonna gain a lot more traction.
Thank you. Our main focus here is to have middle schoolers and high schoolers to be interested in the education field, and also to raise that 2% of black male educators. So those two are really the main goals of this podcast, really. But again, we're also talking about topics that no educator, like you said again, no adult comes to talk about it, and here we are talking about it. So yeah.
And that's what should be happening. The most effective schools allow their students to advocate their voice. They allow the students to voice those concerns. When you suppress student voice, you don't yield those positive results that you want when you suppress the voice of students. So for you all to use your voice on this platform, that's huge, because I'm going to be honest, I hear a lot of podcasts, not just for education, but just for other areas. And to see that it's 2 high school kids doing the podcast and doing it consistently, like talking about some serious issues. And I can tell you this, when I was 15, 17 years old, I'll just say this. I wasn't thinking about restorative justice. I certainly wasn't thinking about, some of these serious topics that you all have brought up in your previous episodes. I was just a typical kid. I was thinking about, man, of course, I'm thinking about girls, man. I'm thinking about prom and the ball. I mean, I was also a varsity football player, so I'm thinking about sports. Like, I'm thinking about typical things that kids who are 16, 17 are thinking about. And I was just living my life. So for you all to, I guess be mature beyond your years and think about these adultish issues. I mean, like I said, it's commendable, and it's something that hopefully gets recognized by other educators, because we need to get our high school kids to really speak to what that experience should be like for them, because we ultimately do the work that we do because of you all. We want to make sure that whatever experience that we provide in the classroom, it's one that's going to carry on with you beyond your high school years. So so we definitely want to make sure that that we do that, and that should be the mindset for every educator who's in this space. Every educator.
Damien just graduated high school, back in June, and I just graduated high school back in 2018. And, being a public school student for 14 years, half of those, not really, half of those years, I've seen, what's going on. I've seen why, kind of like figure out the question, why that student don't like that teacher. Kind of figure out why that teacher's doing this type of way and the student doesn't like it. I've seen it all. And, and now by creating this broadcast, I can finally talk about it. And also different topics that nobody really, discussing. I mean, I've listened to other broadcasts, but nobody really. You have one, 8 Black Hands, that also talk about topics as well that no educator wants to talk about it as well. So,
yeah, I mean,
they doing a great job as well.
That's. And I think that's but that's something that we have to continue to do the work though. But let me ask you all this. Let me ask you this, Daren. What topic do you have a preference as far as what grade level you see yourself teaching? Is it
elementary? I'm thinking about teaching elementary / middle.
Okay. All right. And I mean, if you don't know yet, that's fine. It's still early in the game. Like, you have to kind of feel, you got yourself out. You got to feel yourself out. Of kind of what you want to do. So, definitely want to make that happen. But I could tell you this, it's a process. As long as you continue to read, just read books, learn from other educators, keep yourself abreast of the different issues taking place as you are already doing. It's just sky's the limit. Sky's the limit.
I used to read books back when I was younger, so I used to read books all the time. So now It's kind of like, all right, going back to read your books now. You also have a project you have a project, if I'm correct.
No, yes, sir, I do. I'm working on a few things. I got a few things going on. So I could share a little bit about that right now. So the first thing is outside of doing professional development workshops for teachers and consulting with them, and as well as writing books. I recently launched an online course called Identity Talk for Educators. And the subtitle is How to Shape and Define Your Teacher Identity in order to identify your educator mission. So the whole idea is to get teachers to develop knowledge of self so that they can navigate their personalized paths towards longevity in the education profession. So through this, I just go through a series of modules where we focus on your story as an educator, your personal talents, tools and techniques that you can use in the classroom, whether it's for instruction, behavior management, time management, fundraising, lesson planning, all those important components that come with, being a teacher. I provide some resources for that. And then most importantly, we focus on the importance of engaging your community. So when you're a teacher, you are a member of that immediate community, whether you like it or not. And we have a responsibility as educators to ensure that whatever work we're doing within our classrooms, it's being expanded beyond that and reaching the masses within the neighborhood and on a greater scale within the state and the nation. Because as you already know, we can't just focus on what goes on within the classroom and the school level. We have to understand that there are policies that are taking place in Washington, D.C., in basically the boss office, that are impacting the way that we do our jobs in the classroom. And it's of utmost importance for us to be aware of those policies and laws, because they impact how we do our work. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about engagement, and then most importantly, the idea of being a student of your craft. When you're a teacher, you are always learning. I'm sure you've heard the term that teachers are lifelong learners.
Mm-hmm.
We are, because we're constantly learning new things about ourselves, new things about our children, that can help us be better teachers. So I think for me, doing this course has allowed me to really help teachers who are coming into the profession, as well as for those first and second year teachers. So the course is primarily for that. So that's one project. Another project is a few more projects. I'm actually working on a second book, which I'm not going to say too much about right now, because I want to wait until the time is right. But it's almost done, and it should be out in the early part of 2020.
Okay.
And that's going to be, and that's that one I'm really excited about. It's hard to keep it under wraps, but I'm going to do it for the meantime until it's completely finished. But I'm also I'm also, putting out YouTube videos. So I have YouTube videos there, coming out, just sharing quick tips on how, teachers can improve their performance in their classroom. So, recently I've put out videos on behavior management. I've put out videos on the importance of creating classroom norms, among many topics. So I plan on, doing that periodically, throughout the next year and beyond, just putting out videos on YouTube. So if there's anybody that is looking for some professional development on the fly and they just want to watch a quick video, there'll be more content on my YouTube channel. So definitely check that out. And but there's more to come in 2020. So in due time, you all will know about what's going on.
Okay, all right. We're speaking of books and author and stuff like that. We're also planning to write a book on we're planning on writing a book on one of the topics that we discussed. Don't know the title yet, don't know, everything is just we're brainstorming right now. So
okay,
you heard it here first. Don't know when's the release, but I'm kind of actually excited for this one because this is our first ever. We're going to write a book. I always want to write a book. I have 2 stories that I'm currently working on, and it needs to be finished. But yes. So yes, we're writing a book. Also, speaking of next year, we're also planning we're looking for someone to add to the FET family, which is another co-host to our family. The form is due Friday, January 24th, right after our season 2 finale, which is Friday, January 17th.
Okay.
We will announce, and they will start their new duty or their new role on the season 3 premiere, which will be Monday, February 3rd, 2020. So we have 2020 is going to be a big year for not only for us but also for you as well.
Yes, I'm already excited about it. Just been working hard to create some new content for our fellow educators out there, and I just plan on continuing to do the work that I've been doing, just as you all are.
So that is going to be a wrap for this episode. This has been an hour and 5 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun. So don't forget, he will be joining us all month long, the month of December. The question of the day is, why are so many, if I get this question correct, why are so many children getting bullied?
Oh, why are so many children being bullied?
Yes, that is the question of the day. You can answer that question of the day on our Instagram page at Future Educators Talk, on Facebook at Future Educators Talk with Damien and Daren, on Twitter at Future EDU. Make sure you use the hashtag Future Educators Talk and Future Educators Talk S2. On Wednesday's episode of Future Educators Talk, we will talk about, if I can find, I do believe we will talk about vaping. Yes, we're going to talk about vaping on Wednesday because it is now becoming a popular thing for teens. You have seen so many stories on the news where teens are in the hospital because of vaping. So we're going to talk about that and why is it becoming a popular thing in education and what teachers need to look for if a student is vaping, and where are the popular spots that students are vaping from. So we will talk about that on Wednesday. You can follow me, Daren Frett, yours truly. Yes, I do fret a lot. On Twitter at Daren_Frett, and on Instagram at It's Andrew Frett. And you can follow Mr. Kwame. Did I say that correct? Correct?
Oh, perfect.
On Instagram at Mr. At Kwam_the_identity_shaper on Instagram, and on Twitter at Identity Shaper on Twitter. So he use Instagram more than Twitter. So just FYI. So until next time, until Wednesday, I'm your host, Daren Frett. And he's the co-host he's the co-host, Mr. Kwame. Until Wednesday, this is Future Educators Talk with Jamie and Daren. Hope you have a fantastic Monday.
All right, signing off.